As someone who has been into speedrunning for over 5 years, it's sometimes crazy to take a step back and realize how many hundreds, if not thousands of hours you've poured into practicing, routing, and actually running a specific game. While taking a step back, I also questioned why I even started running in the first place. Why does anyone start this in the first place? Why do people speedrun? Here and there, something speedrun related gets pushed into the mainstream, and the people always ask in the comments, why? As a speedrunner myself, it's kinda hard to say, so I thought that maybe it'd be a better idea to get a wider perspective. So I threw up the question on Twitter, why do you speedrun? Between the responses directly given to me, and the help of Andrew G, who shared his own thread with a similar question, I collected 80 responses and wrote them all down. I wanted to look for common trends among speedrunners. Using the handy-dandy find function, I looked for words that were used the most. Here are the results. Fun, 28 times. Improvement or improving, 20 times. Challenge, 14 times. Replay or replayability, 12 times. Competitive or competition, 11 times. Community, 11 times. Value, 7 times. Friends, 6 times. I know that the sample size isn't huge, but finding common links between 80 people must have some sort of significance, right? There are a lot of overlaps in these terms, but I think it's best to break these words down one by one. Fun. 35% of people in my poll said the word fun. A pretty simple word. It's not shocking that this word popped up the most, actually. This would probably pop up no matter what other hobby I replace speedrunning with. Relating to the topic at hand, though, it makes sense. Why do people play video games? For fun. Speedrunning is just a different kind of way to play video games. It may not be the way that you like to play them, but for some, it is. Improvement. The more and more you do something over and over again, the better you get. This is a very overused statement, but it is for a very good reason. It's pretty true. The statement is a core foundation of speedrunning. How do you think that someone gets a world record in something highly contested? Do you think they just turned on the game and got it their first try? No. Top runners spend hours, months, and even sometimes years just to see their time go down. Multiple people in my poll said that seeing their improvement over time was a huge positive for them, and it motivated them to keep going even further and further. It's a never-ending high, in a way. Some people, including myself, have said, once I get this time, I'll stop, but then once you do, you want to improve further and further and further. It really is a never-ending cycle. Challenge. Sometimes just simply playing a game isn't enough for some. The idea of challenging yourself in a game isn't an exclusive idea to speedrunning. With the rise of game achievements on the Xbox 360 and Steam, a new genre of gamers have been established: achievement hunters. Speedrunning, to some extent, can be a form of achievement hunting. Want to beat Super Mario Bros. In under 5 minutes? That could be considered an achievement. Want to set a new world record in something? That could also be an achievement that you could strive for. Challenging yourself doesn't even need to be time related. It can be trying to beat a game with a certain rule set in mind. The most common that come to mind are blindfolded and one-handed runs. Yes, there are people that can quickly beat games while being blindfolded. I bet you aren't questioning speedruns now. Replayability. Beating a game for the first time can be a great experience, but what next? Okay, I can beat Bowser for the 5th time, but why? That's where speedrunning comes into place. Now you have a solid reason to keep beating the game over and over again. Many people in my poll said that this factor alone was huge for them. A game you can beat in minutes can turn into an experience of hundreds of hours and hours, over months and even years. Speedrunning gives even the simplest games completely new replay value. Competitive. Since speedrunning involves beating games as quickly as possible, there are leaderboards to keep track of who has gotten what time in what category. In the early 2000s, there wasn't really a definitive leaderboard hub, but for the past 5 years, I think it's safe to say that speedrun.com is where everybody uploads their runs. Just seeing your time on a leaderboard of other people can be thrilling. You can get a good idea of how far you are away from top players and where you stack up against other players around you. As players see the leaderboards change over time, they tend to get more and more motivated. Is the record really close to breaking a new minute barrier? You bet that there will be multiple people grinding to be the first one to break it. Again though, competition isn't just about world records. It can be really fun just to compete with your friends on the leaderboard and see who can get a faster time. It's fun to play a little game of who can get below a certain time the fastest, who can get a better time in more categories. Silly things like this are enough to motivate people to grind speedruns that they might otherwise not. I have definitely been motivated to beat some of my times just because other players have either gotten quite close or have beaten my time. Community. Trying to beat other runners' times can be fun and rewarding, but that isn't the full picture. The more you play one specific game, the more likely you are bound to get to know other people who are also playing the same game. Whether this is from hopping into a Twitch chat or finding a Discord server, speedrunning is really a great catalyst for forming communities. There are communities for games that you may not even expect. Searching up a game and speedrun next to it is bound to find you either some type of community, or at least a few runners that can reach out to you and connect you with other people. On top of just finding a game community to talk with, these communities tend to host many speedrun related events to connect players in their community together. A common thing in speedrunning is to race other players in a specific speedrun category. Speedrun race consists of multiple players doing a no-reset speedrun of a certain category to see who wins. With the help of sites like Speedruns Live and Racetime.gg, races have turned into their own competitive outlets in specific communities. Racing with other players can get you to not only finish speedruns without resetting over and over again, but can also help you to get to know other players you are racing with. Some people I would have barely, if not ever, known if it wasn't for me joining a race with them and hopping into a Discord call. Another common event within speedrunning communities are tournaments. Just like a tournament for most other things, speedrun tournaments aren't that different. Both new and longly skilled players in specific games come together to compete in speedrun tournaments. Generally, speedrun tournaments are spread into brackets where players do a speedrun race one-on-one to see who can get the fastest run. Whoever wins these will move further into the bracket. Tournaments are a great excuse to start speedrunning a game and getting into a community you have thought about joining. I started speedrunning Super Mario World thanks to a tournament back in 2015. I can say from experience that speedrunning tournaments are great, and I recommend them if you can. Besides just getting to know the community, speedrun tournaments sometimes have cash prizes, if that's an incentive for you. Value. The term value goes directly hand in hand with the concept of replayability. The more you replay a game, the more value you are getting out of it. Paying $30 for a game to play it once may put you off. But what if you paid $30 for a game that you kept going back to speedrun for hours and hours on end? That's definitely more of a bang for your buck. Speedrunning turns even the simplest games into something new with much more replay value. To an outsider, playing Super Mario Bros. Once may not be worth it, but what if you played thousands and thousands of times over and over again while speedrunning it? Many speedrunners decide to play on actual console for older games, which can cost a lot to get set up. But it's definitely more of a bang for your buck if you intend to speedrun the game for weeks, months, and maybe even years off and on. Friends. Ending this on a wholesome note, friends are a hidden benefit of speedrunning that not many people realize right away. After speedrunning a certain game for a long period of time and joining said community for the game, you are bound to run into people that you form a friendship with. This happens with any hobby. Hobbies in general are great for finding friends, and speedrunning is not an exception. Many of my best friends I first met from speedrunning. Streaming speedruns on Twitch, joining speedrun communities, and participating in speedrun races generally will lead you to forming new relationships with other speedrunners. While speedrun friends are pretty much acquired online, who said that the relationship had to stay online? There are many speedrun marathons hosted yearly that raise money for charity while inviting runners to speedrun for an audience while trying to raise said money. The most infamous being the Games Done Quick speedrun events. They have raised millions of dollars yearly for good causes such as Doctors Without Borders. I have the privilege to say that I physically attended a Games Done Quick event. While the runners speedrunning on stage may be the main focus online, the actual event invites hundreds of runners to come and hang out with each other physically. A hotel is rented out and many rooms are set up to hang out, play games, and do whatever you want. I attended Summer Games Done Quick 2019 and got to meet many speedrun friends and speedrunners that I've looked up to for many years. And it was an amazing experience to finally meet them in person. Who knew in the past 5 years that I'd meet so many new great friends, have so many new experiences, and become a part of so many different amazing communities. And to think that all of this started from trying to play a video game fast, over and over again. And that is why people speedrun. Thank you for watching.